Remember, older people possess something that younger people don't. More experience. And the definition of wisdom is knowledge plus experience.
I'm Tim Wong, and I'm the head of research and strategy at DBS.
I'm Dan Buettner, founder of the Blue Zones, work for National Geographic.
As populations age, and we see aging populations everywhere, what role do social connections play in living a good, long life?
Having a circle of people around you who you can have meaningful conversations with and who you can count on a bad day is better for you than any pill, any supplement, any genetic intervention that has yet been invented. In fact, having a good social network is worth about 8 extra years of life expectancy. The sooner we start being socially connected, making that part of our portfolio, to put it in economic terms, the bigger the return.
When we think about the economy, the question really is how social connections lead to economic benefits and opportunities. One of the interesting things is we've been looking at this, that there are basically 4 forms of capital. We often think of financial capital as the only form of capital, but actually there are 3 other forms which we don't often think about. There's natural capital, which is the land, the environment. There's human capital, which basically as people do things and they're innovative, they create value. And then the last is really this idea that there's social capital, right? So if I do something and I create value, and you do something and create value, and the two of us actually start to work together, the value could potentially increase.
2x value plus.
There you go. Maybe we can just share a little bit of how principles of blue zones apply to emotional well-being of the elderly, especially in high-stress urban environments like Singapore.
One of the biggest sources of stress for people, again, is loneliness. You get a high-stress environment like downtown Singapore here, then you add loneliness on top of it, and you have a caustic cocktail. At the very least, and Singapore, like I said, does this very good, financial incentives for mom and dad to live, grandma and grandpa to live with the family, or live even nearby, walkable distance. And those are probably the most economically feasible and long-lasting interventions I think any country anywhere has thought of.
There are 2 groups of people, right, the elderly. The ones that have a choice, right? They have taken care of their finances. They can decide they don't want to work anymore and they can do something completely different. But actually there's a growing number of people that have to work much longer. Vulnerable elderly might still have to work in order to survive, and they may then experience loneliness or frustration. The question is, how can communities and employers better provide mental health support and foster social connections for these folks?
People who hate their job, afford them the opportunity to take internal inventory and maybe repurpose what they're doing. Somebody who's working in a factory right now, they get retooled to be at a call center or something like that. And it's those older people who uniquely bring that combination in greater abundance, and we should be harnessing that. Arthur Brooks, who wrote a book called Strength to Strength, it identified that younger people have something called fluid intelligence. They're very good at synthesizing new ideas and being nimble and being more creative. But as we get older, that intelligence crystallizes. But it crystallizes with a greater amount of knowledge. And naturally, older people should become sharers of that knowledge, or teachers. So training older people on how to pass on that knowledge is probably one of the best investments we can make.
Very interesting. So this whole idea of then redefining what work is, leveraging technology, and understanding this whole idea of bringing sort of the younger apprentices together with the master craftsmen, and ultimately creating value. And that's what keeps the economy viable and vibrant.
And starting earlier, thinking of workers not as just units of the economy, but as human beings, and paying attention to what gives them purpose in life. You're going to get more productivity. Nobody's thinking about that, or we're not thinking about it enough.
If societies continue to neglect the well-being of the aged in the society, what are the problems? Versus, what are the benefits?
There's not going to be a silver bullet to make sure aging people are, instead of dragging on the society, contributing to it. So number one, we should be thinking about how we keep our older people healthy, because otherwise they're going to be a huge drag on on the healthcare system. Secondly, we're going to want to think about how we tweak our sidewalks and our streets and our parks to favor older people, and continue thinking about policies that keep families together. We're almost aged people ourselves.
Yeah, we're almost, that's right. We call ourselves young seniors. Well, thank you, Dan.
All right.
Great having a conversation on this.
We'll see you when you're 100.
Yeah. Thank you.